And I get more gray hairs. My wife says, "Oh, you look so old." And then, where am I at then? On the street, living in my car, packaging it, you know? So, and on and on and on. Basically, I can't tell you how to apply for aid. I can't tell you how to get the money. But I can tell you that the resources are out there. They're on the websites. There are website tools. College Board has put together a more robust program, and they put together a lot of information to help outline what's going on. Okay? Now schools, as of October, are required to have what is called a net price calculator. All right? No more than 3 clicks away from their homepage, as the federal law states, since I helped implement our net price calculator here at Emory. But every school is required to have this. Some are better than others. Some of us use a private product that we were able to customize and basically match our awarding policies. Some use a federal template that uses these broad averages. It's very, very basic. Some incorporate merit money, some don't. Some are just need-based, some are just merit, etc., etc., etc. But simply, think about the schools you'd like to attend, fill out, and go to their website and find the net price calculator. Parents, take your tax information and drop it in there. It's basically a FAFSA estimator, or basically an EFC estimator. Put your tax info in, hit calculate. First I usually say put a pillow underneath your chin, so when your jaw drops a little bit, you're safe there. But hit calculate and see what that package could be at that institution based on the information you put in. For example, if you go to Emory and you go to Duke, you can see that with that $50,000 family based on taxes paid, based on investments, based on family size, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At the end, it's going to basically say, you know, federal loan, federal work study, Emory College grant, $45,000. Your net price is, with loans, $4,000. Now, is that actual? It's an estimate. The way we look at it in the business is garbage in, garbage out. You put bad tax info in, you're going to get probably a really good award because you may have missed something. Our professionals, we will take care of it in the real world when you actually are applying, et cetera, and make sure it's accurate. But use that as a tool at various places. Because I said some even look at merit money. Some will ask, what's the GPA, what's your test score, et cetera, and they may even be able to say, hey, potentially you could get a $15,000 scholarship based on that information, merit-based. All right? But one way to look for money is look away from the southeast. Okay? This is how you play your odds in admission when looking for aid that are outside kind of the merit-based aid and talent-based. They do a lot of diversity awards to bring new diversity as represented by region, birthplace, et cetera, they will offer money to a lot of students. And when you think about Georgia, the unfortunate reality is we have one of the lowest graduation rates in the country, right? But then we also have the Hope Scholarship, which was one of the nicest state scholarship programs in the country. Okay? So those students that are graduating, there's more and more stay in state to take advantage of the Hope Scholarship. And then on top of that, statistically, you're more likely to end up in the southeast to go to school anyways, just because that's your region. Okay? The second a student puts up their periscope and looks at, not necessarily the East Coast, that's a saturated market, period. Everybody wants to go to Harvard and Princeton and Yale. It's a saturated market up there. So I'd say ignore the East, but start at the Midwest, the West, and the far West, and the far Pacific Northwest. All right? Throw some applications. Throw some fishing applications out there if you want, if you can. But of course, you have to talk about it first with your parents, etc., because it could turn out that it may be the best option overall. But it is a great way to see what else is out there, because you are not limited to what's around here or what's in the surrounding states. There are colleges out there that want a lot of good students, and they want students from Georgia because a lot of private schools and a lot of other schools in general say we have 22 states represented. Well, if Georgia becomes 23. Next time they print the brochure, they can say 23 states states are represented. And schools like that. You know, schools like Emory, we have all 50 states, plus I don't know how many countries, We're awesome, super, great. But not every school has the same luxury that we have. You know, we are very fortunate with Emory. We've got a lot of great resources. We've, been successful in the national rankings, even though I really don't agree with them, et cetera, et cetera. Other schools haven't had that same glory, but they offer us the same, if not a better education for you as an individual. If someone wanted engineering, and they said, oh, I can't wait, I want to go to Emory, I'll say, you are sorely mistaken if you really want engineering in Emory, because that, like, but Emory's so good, and I'm like, yeah, not for engineering. Just because it's a good school as deemed by some magazine and some statistical analysis, it doesn't mean it's a good school for you. The College of Worcester in Ohio, you've probably never heard of it. It's a really good school. Just because you haven't heard of it, your friends haven't heard of it, just because they don't have a football team or they don't have D1, it doesn't mean it's going to be a great educational experience. They'll have the resources that you may need. They'll have the education, the programs you may want, et cetera, and they may offer the money that will make it all more affordable. But parents and students, I'll tell you this one thing. Students, I would say do your best to limit educational debt to $50,000. I know that's high. A lot of people say, oh, you should go loan-free, no loans, you shouldn't have anything. The reality is that it doesn't always, unfortunately, work out that way. Sometimes it does, and when it does, outstanding. But I'm just saying, on a personal note, in my experience, over $50,000 in educational debt by any undergraduate is a lot of money. Okay? You shouldn't have to borrow that. If it comes to it, that means you should probably go to GPC for 2 years and then transfer somewhere else to help minimize that cost. There's no harm in transferring. But the harm is not going to college. The harm is not completing the degree. The harm is to go for a year, struggle, and then quit. Understand that there are resources galore at any institution in this country. There are tutors. There are academic advisors. And better yet, there's mental health counselors that are there and free the majority of the time at colleges and universities. Mental health counseling, coming from a family of mental health professionals, is something that's commonly overlooked at by families and by students, etc., etc. But parents, trust me, it is in the fees that you're paying anyway. Students, there's no shame in it, because once you graduate, you got to start paying it for yourself. When you get a job and stuff, and you realize, oh my gosh, I really do need to maybe see somebody. Then it's expensive. You get it knocked out, get it cleaned up, when it's basically sort of free as part of your education. And next thing you know, come out to the world, and you're like, I'm good, I'm on my right path. And there's also no shame in taking time off. If you struggle, if something bad happens, take a semester off. But don't screw up and not go back. I mean, I've seen it, I see it all the time. And it's so sad. And it's so sad when someone doesn't take and look for the help that's out there. Anybody can be a help on a college campus. So find a bond, find a connection, and know, even if they look scary, even if they're doctored this with MS and LD and all this other stuff after their initials, after their name, they're just a human being. And the reality is, the more initials, the more stuff they've seen, the more they probably really want to help. Okay? But all the way from Audrey, our cleaning lady in our building, up to the president of the university, everybody wants to see every student be happy and successful. Audrey especially. And we all in between want to help. Okay? So that's kind of an aside from financial aid. But it's one thing that nobody ever really talks about. Until all of a sudden someone's like, hanging off the balcony and they're like, oh, wait, maybe you should go see somebody. No. It's trying to identify and knowing that it's A-okay. And free. God, free. I can go back to college just to get that stuff taken care of now.